I hate the Pokemon community so much. I made quite a mess. Okay, so because tell me why. Every time I try to get a good deal or try to negotiate on something, I just feel so guilty for it. Because this weekend, if you're not familiar with Malaysia's what's it called? Malaysia's thrift scene. We have this mall called Amcorp Mall, and it's a mall where it's a strata mall. So basically, where the shop owners are allowed to do whatever they want. There's no regulations they really have to follow. Of course, there are some regulations, but it's not too um, what's it called, strict like those real maybe those more luxurious malls. And it's been shifting between hobbies. Like at one point, it was just all diecast, and when the Pokemon scene started to blow up, Amcorp is now almost 40%, 50% Pokemon. You have so much people opening Pokemon stores in Amcorp right now because the Pokemon scene really blew up. So, me being someone that just got into Pokemon, I thought, yeah, why not? Just go into Amcorp, and instead of always looking for diecasts, why not just look for some Pokemon cards? Of course, just that one trip to Amcorp, I got six. I think I have more. I actually have more. Wait, hold on. Yeah, six. Sorry, six Mega Gengar EXs for 15 ringgit each, and I'm so happy about that. You know, a playset is only four cards, and I got extra two for some reason because I just okay. So here's the thing, right? I got these two, these three for about 15, and these two, these extra three were actually 10 ringgit. So I thought that okay, I was thinking of it like stocks now, you know, like just water down my prices a bit to get some for cheaper. But anyway, it's out of topic. So back on topic. So I'll walk you through the events, okay? So I was going through this one store. This when I walked to MCOP, I walked straight to the top floor, and I came across this one guy who was selling bulk. I don't normally look at the hits and all that because they are way out of my price range, and I just thought when I first got into Pokemon, of course I was going after the hits, but after opening a few packs, it's definitely not a good financial investment. So I just thought, hey, why not experience the game a bit? So I've been building my own deck, which is, as you can see over here. And in this deck, I actually already have a Badoo. Let me show you. So if you're not familiar with what Badoo does, Badoo is actually a playable Pokemon. It's not a hit, but it's really valuable when you play the game. You get to, without any energy, you get to do 10 damage to your opponent, but they will not be able to play an item card the next turn, which is very disruptive. And the major part, it has no retreat cost. So this is such a good playable card. So I was going through this one store that was, I don't think they're players, but this was in their bulk pile for 50 cents. 50, what do you call it? 50 cents ringgit? I don't know. RM 50 cents. So this was in their pile, and I knew that I already have one, but they were doing like two for $1, so I didn't want to only just take one Badoo, so I went ahead and took a Badoo plus a, I forgot what else I got, but Badoo was one of them. I got an extra Badoo, so nothing special about that. I went to another store, the store that was like directly next to it, and I was talking to the guy, a really nice Chinese guy. So I was talking to him, and he told me he was trying to. All of his cards are mostly vintage because he played during the Wizards of the Coast era, and that was that's a really long time ago, like 2000s or something. So I was talking to him, and he actually considered getting back into the TCG. So I thought like, hey, why not just gift him that extra Badoo, you know? So I gave him a Badoo. And I noticed that he had these three Gengars in his binder for 50 ringgit. So I thought, I am building a, what's it called, Gengar Crobat deck. Because if you're not familiar with what Gengar does, he basically has Shadowy Concealment. So basically, if your Pokemon is knocked out by your opponent's EX Pokemon, which is basically what everyone's doing now, using EX Pokemons, they get one less price card. So basically, they get no price cards if you're playing just a basic Pokemon. So anyways, I was trying to buy this, and I saw that he had Dartrixes, and I need Dartrix because I was also building a Decidueye deck. And he was willing to just give me 4 Dartrixes. And okay, he was willing to give 1 first, and I actually needed 4. So I just told him like, oh, how much for the Dartrix? And without even negotiating, he just went, you can just have it. I thought, I'm not used to getting free stuff, you know. So I kept insisting, no, I can't have it for free. I really can't. So he kept saying like, just think of it as a trade for the Badiou. I really can't. So I'm Asian, you know. So I like to negotiate on everything, and I don't like taking free stuff. But you can call it pretty contradicting. But when I finished picking out my cards, it's like 4 Dartrixes and one Vivillon and 1 Spewpa, if I'm not mistaken. He immediately okay, then I said, okay, now we can negotiate. So how much can you do for 3 Gengars, a 4 Dartrix, 1 Spewpa and 1 Vivillon? And he just said, you can just have those for free. And I just paid for like the Gengar and the Vivillon, and the rest are free. And the Dartrix, of course, because that's 8 ringgit. So he gave me a Spewpa for free and 1 Vivillon for free. So every time I try to negotiate with someone, if you don't give it to me for free and I negotiate on it, I don't feel so bad because we negotiated and we agreed on a price. But if you just give it to me for free, especially right off the wazoo, you just say, you can have it for free. I feel so bad because I want to negotiate. I want that back and forth between you and me, you know? So if you just give it to me for free, I feel so bad. So I want to negotiate. I want to work for that free card, you know? I call it cycle, but that's how I normally do stuff. So anyways, after that, I joined his WhatsApp group and he bought a Venusaur vintage from me for almost 100% comp, just $1 off comms. So nice guy. So after that, I went to another guy looking for playables as well. And this time, I was looking for Lanaze, Dawn, and some boss orders. So a boss order. So I actually was looking for boss orders, and I picked out this. Sorry, let me just find my boss order. So if you're not familiar with what boss order does, basically you get to forcibly switch out your opponent's Pokemon with a Pokemon from their bench. This one. So I saw this card in this vendor's table. No, sorry, I was looking through the vendor's bulk first, and I saw like a really cute Psyduck. I don't have it right here right now. It was that Psyduck that has the Dam ability, preventing those self-knockout moves. And I didn't just want to take that Psyduck, so I went to look through his binder, and I found that he has a boss order as well. So I took out the boss order, I took out the bug catchers as well, 1 Force of Vitality and 1 Psyduck. And we were having a good time talking. He was actually a diecast collector as well. And we were just talking about the volatility and difference between the Pokemon market and the diecast market. I didn't want to waste too much of his time because he had some customers. So I just gave him the cards and I asked him, what's the best you can do? And of course, he tried to say a bit, oh man, these are playables. I can't really go any lower on them. So so I insisted a bit more. I said, come on, you can do a bit less for me. Just a bit more. And then he just straight away said, I can just have it for free. And then I just felt so guilty after that, you know? I just felt so bad. So I said, no, I can't do that. But then he was just like, nah, I can have it for free. And then he was just tending to his other customers. So I didn't want to bother him anymore. So I guess I was taking up his time, and he just wanted to get rid of me like an annoying fly. So I just said, okay, I'll pay 50 cents for each. So I paid him 50 cents for each, which is basically almost what he stated. I think he stated like $1 for 2, or is it 1? Sorry, I think it was $1 for 2 for the uncommons, and the holo rares were $2 each. So basically, yeah, maybe this is a good way to like prevent people from negotiating. Just give it to them for free, make them feel bad, so they'll pay you full price. Okay, I'm not saying this is what they were doing, but that's why I hate this. Okay, and of course, not everyone's like this. You have some people who will not even budge 1 cent off their normal price. That's one thing I want to talk about today as well. Um, this is one thing I generally don't really like about the Pokemon community is some people they feel quite entitled. Okay, maybe entitled's the wrong word, but I don't really have a word for it, so I'll just describe it for you. Um, they tend to ignore the people who find playables, and try to just tend to people who look at the more bigger hits. Like when I went to Fansla in my town, there was this one vendor. I was looking at these two Gengars, which is basically like 10 ringgit each. He was selling for 15, and I was asking for like 11 each. So basically he was tending to one guy who was one. I think he was trying to trade in a slab or buy a slab. I'm not sure how much that slab was, but I would assume it's a pretty expensive slab. And he wouldn't pay any attention to me. He was focused 100% on that slab person. I'm not saying that he should just drop everything and listen to me, but okay, maybe that's a bad example. I'm not saying that he should do that, but he normally, if I was vending in my diecast store, if I have someone who's looking at my cars and trying to ask me for a price, I would just say, hold on, could you give me a second? But of course, no hard feelings to the guy. I just felt like maybe it could be handled a little bit better, but he just wouldn't pay any attention to me at all. And after that, I just decided, yeah, I'm not gonna get it. I'm just gonna go to another store and get it. So I got two from another guy who was who would pay attention to me. Okay, that sounded pretty bad, but I hope you get what I mean. So after that, I went to another guy who okay, just let's stop talking about guys now and let's talk about how they buy comps. So if you're not familiar, I've actually been trying to sell these cards, these vintage cards from my own collection. The thing about them is these vendors, they like to choose whichever market is to their favor. So if they're selling to you, they will take maybe eBay last sold, because eBay last sold, and then they'll pick the highest comp last sold from eBay. And then when it comes to you selling it to them, they will take the lowest price, which is normally shiny, and they say that's market price, and then they'll take it as 70%. Their justification being, oh, we need wiggle room to make money. And how they say it is, okay, I'll take 70%, so I can sell it for 100% and that 30% will be my profit. That's what they say. But every time you try and buy from someone, if you even suggest following shiny, if shiny is not higher than eBay last sold, they will get pissed. I am not joking. I have actually gotten scolded or gotten some snide remarks from people when I even suggest, oh, it's your price is way above shiny's price. And they would just like, oh, then you go shiny buy lah, like that. Then you go eBay buy lah, which is like, and then they say, oh, then you have to pay shipping and you have to pay that one. But mind you, when a seller sells on eBay, they have to pay eBay fees as well. So you are not selling on eBay. You don't have to pay eBay the fees. So why are you trying to sell eBay prices as well? This is the same thing. If you're Malaysian, this is the same as Shopee. Some sellers will intentionally put a higher price just to negate the Shopee fees or to make back some of the Shopee fees. But some people, they'll just go on to Shopee and they'll say, oh, Shopee's selling this price, so I'm going to sell this price as well without paying the Shopee fees. So I hope you get what I'm saying. So yeah, so that's the first thing. I hate this Pokemon community in a more joking sense, and also I hate this Pokemon community in a more legit sense. So I'm not trying to send any hate to the Pokemon community. This is just some things that I wanted to vent about. If you disagree, let me know in the comments. Yeah, okay. I think that's all. I really need to start adopting scripts into my videos. Yeah. I'll see you guys.